48-inch OLED TVs are about to become more affordable, with LG Display aiming to ramp up production almost fivefold in 2021. Let's talk about this. Hello everyone, Vincent Teo from HDTV Test here. News has emerged from Korea that LG Display, which is the main supplier of all these WRGB OLED panels found on all the consumer OLED televisions you can buy on the market today, is going to ramp up the production of 48-inch OLED panels starting from next month. Now, if you have watched my previous video explaining why 48-inch OLED TVs can be as expensive or even more expensive than 55-inch OLED TVs, you may or may not be aware that before the news broke today, LG Display is cutting two 48-inch OLED panels together with two 77-inch OLED panels from a single 8.5G motherglass at its Guangzhou factory. So what has happened now is that LG Display is going to operate a new OLED production line at its Paju, South Korea factory to produce exclusively 48-inch OLED panels, and I'm going to explain how. So you may or may not be aware that LG Display has two OLED factories or fabs or plants, one in Paju, South Korea, which is the original one, and the other one in Guangzhou, China. And this is newer with multi-modal glass technology or MMG technology. What multi-modal glass or MMG technology allows LG Display to do is to cut different sized OLED panels from a single sheet of mother glass. So I forgot to mention that both the Paju factory and also the Guangzhou factory are 8.5G. This means that the mother glass will be measuring 2.5 meters times 2.2 meters. So at the Guangzhou factory with the MMG technology, LG Display has been cutting two 77-inch OLED panels together with two 48-inch OLED panels from a single sheet of 8.5G mother glass. And as a direct result of that, the supply of 48-inch OLED panels has been slightly restricted because, as you can imagine, the demand for 77-inch OLED panels isn't really that great to start with. So they can only cut two 48-inch OLED panels in conjunction with two 77-inch OLED panels. Therefore, the supply will be quite restricted. And this explains the limited supply of 48-inch OLED TVs on the market. And so the prices held its own, at around £1,500 for the longest time before a slight drop recently, I think. But for 2021, starting from next month, which is March, what LG Display will be doing is to operate a new OLED production line at its Paju factory to produce exclusively 48-inch OLED panels, and they will be cutting basically 8 48-inch OLED panels from a single 8.5G mother glass at its Paju factory. And because of this conversion, the company aims to produce 1 million units of 48-inch OLED panels this year. This is an almost fivefold increase from last year, because last year it is reported that LG Display manufactured 220,000 pieces of 48-inch OLED panels, and if they can reach their target of 1 million units this year, it is almost a fivefold increase. And with an increase in supply, hopefully the prices to OLED brands and eventually to consumers will drop as well. So I think this is extremely good news. And 48-inch OLED panels has been extremely popular even beyond their initial expectations, because I think gamers have been buying them up in droves. And last year we saw the launch of the PS5, we saw the launch of the Xbox Series X, and gamers really want a gaming TV, and there is really no better gaming TV than the 48-inch OLED. If you really want to put it on a desktop and you don't want it to dominate your table too much. And OLED, obviously, for gaming, the advantage of true blacks, vibrant colors, and wide view angles due to its self-emissive properties, and also they have near instantaneous pixel response time, so you don't get any VA type LCD smearing, when you have dark objects traveling across a bright background. And unlike full array local dimming LED LCD televisions, the blacks and the contrast performance still holds true in game mode, unlike LED LCDs where the video processing has to be cut down, and therefore local dimming has to be handicapped, causing blacks to become grayer. Whereas blacks on OLED, they are inherent, they are native to the self-emissive technology. It won't degrade even when you cut down the video processing. So from that point of view, I think, OLED for gaming has been transformative for a lot of you viewers out there who invested in OLED technology and found out that, OLED is really fantastic for gaming. But there is a limited supply last year and the prices remain high, and hopefully that will change this year. Now, what I'm going to do is to go through a list of 48-inch OLED TVs that we know will be coming out from various manufacturers in 2021. This video is sponsored by Box, the online technology store. Visit box.co.uk for the best deals on TVs, soundbars, and all your other technology needs. So let's start with LG. Last year, obviously, the 48-inch LG CX or C10 was immensely successful, immensely popular. And this year, they will have their successor in the form of the 48-inch C1. And it will have 4 HDMI 2.1 ports. It will have AMD FreeSync support. It will support NVIDIA G-Sync, and it will also have a well-implemented HGIG. And therefore, I think, it is going to be one of the more popular 48-inch OLED TVs for gamers out there, and that is not forgetting the very low input lag that LG has managed to achieve on their OLED TVs. Now, new for 2021, LG is also launching a step-down or entry-level A1 series of OLED, but this A1 series will only be 60Hz and it will only have HDMI 2.0. So I don't think it will appeal to gamers that much, even though it is going to be available in 48-inch screen size. I don't think it will appeal to gamers that much because of the lack of HDMI 2.1. Now, the A1 series is going to be quite intriguing because as far as I know, all these OLED TVs on the market, even since the very first consumer OLED that LG Electronics launched back in 2013. I think it was a curved 1080p OLED. Even that one, I think, was 120Hz. So LG Display hasn't actually manufactured a 60Hz OLED panel before. And then suddenly in 2021, we hear this news about a 60Hz OLED from LG Electronics, and it is quite surprising. And I think, maybe what is done is that the 60Hz cap is being implemented through the SoC rather than on the panel level. Again, this is not confirmed, it is just my guess, because so far, as far as I'm aware, even the first LG OLED TV is 120Hz, and they have never come out with a 60Hz OLED until now. So I'm just wondering whether it is even cost economical for LG Display to start producing a line of 60Hz centric OLED. I don't think they will do that. I think, it will still be 120Hz at core, but it will be SoC limited to 60Hz. That's just my guess, really. So that is from LG's point of view. Next, let's move on to Panasonic. And Panasonic hasn't actually announced any 40-inch OLED TVs yet. They announced their flagship JZ2000 series of OLED at CES, but that will only be available in 55 and 65-inch screen sizes. But hopefully at a range reveal next month, we will hear more from the Japanese brand whether they will start offering a 48-inch OLED in its 2021 lineup. Next, let's talk about Philips. And Philips last year already introduced a 48-inch OLED with the OLED Plus 935 flagship series. But this year, they have also added a 48-inch model into their 806 series. And I think the 806 is a substantial upgrade over last year's 805. It will have 2 HDMI 2.1 ports supporting VRR and ALM and ER. And they will have a lower input lag of 18 milliseconds, which is still not as low as LG, but it is at least half the input lag of last year's 805. And Philips also is unique in the sense that its OLED TVs will be equipped with Ambilight, which is the company's proprietary integrated bias lighting solution, and it may appeal to some gamers out there, whether you want to use it as a static bias lighting to promote eye comfort, especially when you are gaming for prolonged sessions, or you want to make the ambilight synchronize with the content on screen to provide an even more immersive all singing, all dancing experience. And that is from Philips' point of view. And next we move on to Sony. And surprisingly, Sony hasn't actually announced any new 48-inch OLED model for 2021. What the company is doing is to carry over last year's Sony A9, or in the USA it is known as the A9S OLED TV, which is only available in 48-inch screen size. It is going to carry over in 2021. Now, I don't think this 48-inch model from Sony will be appealing to any gamers out there, because it won't even have HDMI 2.1. It will only have HDMI 2.0 ports. So I think, if you are wanting a 48-inch OLED to go with your PS5 or to go with your Xbox Series X, which support HDMI 2.1, then I think, LG and Philips are better because of native HDMI 2.1 support, obviously. And it is a slightly surprising decision from Sony, because clearly they are responsible for the PS5 console and they have seen how well the console sold. But yet, they are not actually offering a 48-inch OLED that is gamer friendly to target this segment. So it is just a slightly surprising decision from Sony that I've seen this year. And obviously there are other brands that offer 48-inch OLEDs, such as Bang & Olufsen with their BioVision Contour, which is, I think, a rebadged LG C10 or CX, so it will have 4 HDMI 2.1 ports. And the thing about this TV is that it's going to be extremely expensive. I don't think any people like us will be even considering it, and I think that people who are willing to fork out for that sort of television will be buying into the heritage, the history, the brand, and also maybe the design and the speakers, and it is certainly out of reach for most common consumers. And I think that is just a basic rundown of all the 48-inch OLED TVs on the market, and it is definitely hoped that with an increase in supply from the part of LG Display, who is the supplier of all these 48-inch OLED panels, that the prices will slowly become more affordable and more of you can get into OLED technology with its self-emissive goodness of true blacks, vibrant colors, wide viewing angles, near instantaneous pixel response time, and obviously, I think there are many other attributes that make OLED one of the better display technologies for playing games. If you like to watch more videos on OLED TVs, I've created a playlist here if you like to click on it, and I will see you in the next video.